We have a guy who rips people in half.
Rip Hercules in half.
There's gonna be piss all over my legs today.
What?
You know, when I was a kid, I didn't see representations of anxiety. I think widely as a culture, we misunderstood it, still misunderstand it.
I feel like guilt is just a hole that you also can't get out of. How do I get out of it? And it's like, well, I don't think you can, honey. Like, it's just kind of there for a long time.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. Now that Thunderbolts is here, we're all asking the same question. Is Sentry okay? Is Bob gonna be all right? And is the Void still with us? Because it kind of feels like the Void's still with us. And now we're looking to Avengers Doomsday, and we have a guy who rips people in half. Is he gonna do that in Doomsday? Let's talk about it.
This is the sneak peek where we talk about the future of fandom here at New Rockstars with me, Jessica Clemons, and my other host, Erik Voss.
Hi, everybody. So we are now going to talk fully about Thunderbolts. If you have not seen Thunderbolts yet, we will be getting into some spoilers in this episode of Sneak Peek. But, you know, a lot of people are seeing this movie. It was like a surprise success this weekend. And to me, it wasn't a surprise. I love this movie. I was just sweating, Jess, when I tweeted that this movie was the best movie since Avengers Endgame, and I'm like, well, this is how I feel. I hope the world somewhat agrees with me because I'm not going to change my mind. And the world kind of agreed with me a little bit.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Follow me on X, a site I
God, please don't. You know what? Don't. Just leave. Go look up at when other people reshare it somewhere else.
If you want to join the sinking ship, follow me on X, because I'm sure I won't be on it in 12 months.
Yeah, they're going to kill all of us. Kill all of us. They're gonna just get rid of all of us. Everybody here at New Rockstars has a Helix mattress, and we love it. It's one of the perks of working with Helix for years. And I swear to you, whenever I gotta travel or sleep in some bed other than my own, I notice that the mattress is just not Helix quality. Finding your perfect mattress is so easy thanks to Helix's sleep quiz. Just answer a few questions and you'll get fit with a mattress that's perfect firmness and temperature for you. I wanted a medium firm mattress with lumbar support that sleeps cool, and I got matched with the Dusk Luxe Helix mattress. I've had it for years now, and it's fantastic. Before Helix, it would take me forever to fall asleep, and I never really wake up feeling that rested. Now I fall asleep so fast, and I wake up feeling great every single day. Helix has something for everybody. They offer 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe and Ultra Premium Elite collections, Helix Plus for big and tall sleepers, and the Helix Kids mattress. And if you're not ready to replace your mattress just yet, but you want to layer some Helix comfort on top, you can, thanks to Helix's new mattress topper collection. Our beloved old-time friend, producer Evan, got himself a premium mattress topper, and he's been loving flopping down on it every day after a long day of streaming. Helix delivers right to your door with free shipping in the US, and the mattress comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up yourself. I love my Helix mattress, and I think you would too. From now until the end of May, you can take advantage of Helix's Memorial Day exclusive partner offer. You'll get 27% off site-wide, plus a free bedding bundle with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. Just click the link in the description below to get started, and thanks again for Helix for sponsoring this video.
How did you feel about Thunderbolts, Jess? We talked about it a bit on Friday on the break room.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it deserves that kind of title? Is it in the upper echelon of Marvel movie releases for you?
Yeah, I think it's very fun. I think it's a great fun movie, and it was funny because our editor Abby got to see it like a week before a lot of us here at the office, and she was like, "This is a movie." Like not in a bad way. Like she was like, "It's been a long time since I've seen a movie. Like just a movie that didn't have to like carry so much on its shoulders, but still made you feel like you were in a theater watching an actual movie."
Yeah.
Like the pacing was fun. They jump right into it. It's action when it needs to be action. It's funny when it needs to be funny, and it's serious when it needs to be serious. And I was like, yeah, I agree. I have not seen, especially Marvel, give me a movie like this in a very long time.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what Scorsese was criticizing Marvel for in 2019, that like some of these movies, while they're wildly successful, just don't feel like movies. They're kind of like theme park rides. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. However, I'm sure people were saying that about Scorsese and Spielberg in the 70s, you know, not to rehash those old battles. But I do think that there was an argument there that a lot of Marvel movies haven't had that narrative, thematic, and visual cohesion that most movies do. And Thunderbolts did have that. Thunderbolts did feel like just a good cinematic experience that lasts 2 hours and feels like 90 minutes, you know?
100%.
But looking ahead now, you know, we've done a couple videos on this. We broke down the post-credit scene. We did an Easter egg breakdown of the movie. Jess broke down like what these two Avengers lineups are, or what Sam's new team is. So go check out that video. But we want to talk about Sentry now, because Sentry feels like a very important character going forward. Going into this movie, I didn't know how they were going to leave Sentry or Bob at the end of it. They tend to
acts like people like him. Just the bad guy immediately, the overly powerful bad guy gets killed immediately.
Yeah. So I'm happy to see not only Bob surviving, but like the Void is still intact. And I think that that's a pretty brave and profound thing for Thunderbolts, the film, to do, because it's pretty realistic, in my opinion, to the way mental health is a constant struggle, and you never vanquish the darkness completely. That's not what it means to be an adult. To be an adult means knowing how to manage the darkness and knowing how to collectively work through the darkness with a community of people. And you don't always win, but you're okay knowing when to pick a battle, you know, or when just to take a day for yourself or whatever it is. And I like that about the movie. The Void doesn't get completely vanquished, and the Void is always there. And it's a dark thing, but it is a realistic thing. And it sets up questions, I think, for Bob going forward. And I don't know about you, Jess. I kind of feel like that's the reason why there's this divide between the Avengers teams, that like you can imagine Sam and Thor and Doctor Strange and those guys being like, hey, you have this very dangerous super soldier test experiment, hand him over. And Bucky's like, no way, I'm not going to hand him over.
I think it's also the fact that they're all criminals that have murdered a lot of people, whether they were innocent or not. And I think that's going to be one thing that's going to be really frowned upon by Sam Wilson's Avengers. And where Sam Wilson's Avengers will have a positive outlook for the audience is probably where it's like, oh, Sam Wilson's never killed someone publicly, or that someone that looked unarmed and did all these things and was like literally on the ground being like, please don't. And so that's why it's like, I think this was the one thing that I was like, Valentina, you were not thinking right. You made all these criminals into heroes, and criminals can be heroes, but these ones, we don't know how many people they've killed that were just innocent. And so I was like, yeah, not only do you have the biggest weapon, a weapon of literal mass destruction on your team, but you also have a bunch of people that were hired assassins.
Yeah, and have had a change of heart, but only
100.
recently.
Only recently. And I believe their change of heart. And I believe that they felt bad. Like, they didn't want to do half the things they wanted to do then. But I'm also like, you still did it. Ghost, I love you to death, but you were murdering a lot of people at the beginning of your career.
Definitely. I mean, two of them, Taskmaster and Yelena, were under mind control for most of their lives.
100.
And, you know, they had the Ivan Dreykov, whatever that was, that just programmed them to do these things against their will. Winter Soldier had Hydra programming. Now, Red Guardian, Ava Starr, and John Walker made their choices.
Yes.
And they knew what they were doing.
And yeah, Yelena was 100% under mind control. And then when she was free, the first thing she did was, I'm going to kill Clint Barton and then rummage through New York City. And I went, okay, how many people did you not harm in the way of that office building fight, in the literal ice skating rink? How many of the people in the tracksuit mafia did you accidentally break legs in the process of getting through? And so I'm like, Yelena, when you were conscious, you were just filling that void with beating and killing people.
When she eats that mac and cheese with sriracha sauce, the undercurrent of that scene was, I'm going to murder you, Kate Bishop. You're going to die.
Get in
and
my
your
way.
dog's going to watch. And if the dog tries to save you, the dog's going to go too. That was not a funny scene. That was a scary scene.
And also, how has no one ever connected that scene to the Wizard of Oz and just made her the Wicked Witch? That was like, I'm going to get you and your dog. That's crazy. That's why I'm like, no, that's the real crazy work. They need to go to Doomsday so at least they can have this conversation without the peers and the people of New York witnessing it.
Yeah. And in the final minutes of Thunderbolts, there's this moment where, like, you know, Bob doesn't remember what he went through. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, when, you know, the little girl comes back, the shadows retract, and they're like, you okay, Bob? And he goes, yeah. Okay, from what? And he's like, I don't really remember. And that's interesting because when you go through, like, trauma healing, you'd want to remember that. The fact that he has blacked out the healing part of it is also a little scary because it means that he can't get to that place unless he lets the Void join him in a dance of some kind. If he is kind of, in a way, putting it in the back of his mind.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to do that. I just think that's how his memory works. He has these memory blackouts and he's still kind of going through it. And again, I think this is a more profound character choice for him. I don't want him to be completely fixed, but I do think it sets up a question how Yelena just is like, you're going to stay close to me. And then at the end, he's like, guys, I can't fly because I would have to let the Void take over. And he's reading this book that's like, The Creative Way, or it's like a specific book where it's like, just some good life
Self-help.
advice. It's a self-help book. He's trying to improve himself, and he cleans the dishes in Avengers Tower, but he's still there. And I think it's setting up this question of like, he has so much potential energy right now.
Yeah, I think because I remember in the comics he also was like, I don't remember what I did, and everyone was like, what? I think they were trying to do like, which I do think they did a well enough job of being like, yeah, your depression never leaves. You can never get rid of it. Even if you try to dampen it with drugs, it is still there deep within you and it's always going to come out. But by making an actual physical person, so the void itself is actually dampening his. I don't think it's really Bob wanting to forget the memories. I think it's the void being like, no, we're two different people. Because also in the comics, I think he was schizophrenic. I don't know if they're going to play that he's schizophrenic in the MCU because it's the MCU, but I'm like, oh, I think they want to make him two very different people. His depression is now physically mattered into this human being that's like, no, I have my memories and then you have yours. Well, honestly, he should just meet up with Moon Knight because Moon Knight has this entire situation down. He's like, I don't know what Steven's doing from what Jake is doing. And I think that's what they're kind of trying to do with Sentry. They're going to be like, every time the void takes place, he remembers what he's doing. And Doomsday, when the void comes out, he's going to be like, okay, I have to finish my job here and kill Yelena. I have to finish my job here and kill the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, when Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee were conceiving the character Sentry in the early aughts, this was a popular time in a lot of comic book fiction where they were playing with some of these like mental health angles. And a lot of times you saw it in movies and in comics and books where they just labeled it schizophrenia. Yeah. And over time, I think a lot of mental health advocates would just get better at educating, or people would be more open to like learning the distinctions between things like schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder, formerly referred to as multiple personality disorder, but it's not what we call it anymore. It's dissociative identity disorder, and they're not identities, they're alters, and that really refers to what Moon Knight has. And in the comics, when it comes to Bob Reynolds, like, yeah, when you read it, you're like, is he schizophrenic or is this a real thing? And they kind of keep you in that state of uncertainty. And over time, you're like, wait, no, the void is real. The void was there in the book of Exodus. Like the void is this external cosmic force that is always there. But they throw all these curveballs at you at some point. Like Bob Reynolds is like, did the mutant mastermind put this in my head just to like mess with me? And the void is just like a manifestation of my own whatever. In this movie, they really do lean toward the void is not like some kind of primordial cosmic evil. The void is just something that comes from Bob's own like trauma, his own issues that he's going through. But he did say he's had these ever since he was a kid. And the way I read that was it was witnessing his father abusing his mom that like triggered that. I think that's what the movie was saying.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know if like the fact that like Yelena also opens the movie saying that like I feel this void. I think the movie's also saying that like this is something that is universal to all people who have things that they regret.
Yeah, 100.
And it's something that we can all tap into. It's one of these things like in the Marvel mythology, concepts like time and love, you know, are represented by beings. Death now in the MCU is represented by a bipedal entity with a skull face. So I don't know if they're going to try to make the void the cosmic representative of, what would we call it? Shame? Depression?
No, I don't think they're going to touch it.
I don't think they would either.
I don't think they would. But because, even Marvel was like, it's still, and that's the thing, is like, it's still for everybody. Of all ages and shapes and sizes. So it makes sense that they're like, yeah, we're not going to get into that deep of a rabbit hole. We kind of tested the waters with Moon Knight and you guys really liked it, which is great, perfect, but I don't think they're going to dive into it too much. And I think that's why they made Yelena's more about like regret and sorrows than actually having a like depression, being diagnosed with just something that is irreversible. She like is learning like, oh, I can get out of my own sadness. Which is that's also like the only bad reviews I've seen on this movie are just more so about like their approach to mental health. And I was like, oh yeah, but they can't really, I just don't think they want to tap into it too much. It's still a movie for everybody. So I think they want you to know that like sometimes you can beat it, but sometimes you can't. And I think they just wanted you guys to all feel that way.
Yeah, and especially an audience that sometimes has never even thought about mental health. It's never even thought of like their mental health as something that can be worked on the way you can work on a muscle group, or something that it's part of your health as much as good diet, rest, exercise, it's interesting when I was, thinking about this movie, my wife worked on Inside Out 2 and Inside Out 2, I think is a movie that kind of touches on some similar themes, but anxiety is really the element that they explore in Inside Out 2. But I know she worked on that movie for several years. Earlier drafts of that movie explored different things. And one of the things that was going to be the villain in an early version of the movie was shame. And shame, one of the artistic versions that they had drafted up was like a shadow monster that was like the flip side of joy or the flip side of anxiety. Like it was going to be like a companion or a partner to anxiety. And then there was a lot of debate among the story artists in that movie and the director, like, would Riley's mind, like, would we have something in our head that is bad for us? And we realized shame is something that shouldn't, like, all the other 5 emotions, and then we meet 4 more in Inside Out 2. They're all things that like help Riley in some way. And that's an important rule for the world of Inside Out. Like everything has to be in there to serve a purpose. We learn that sadness serves a purpose, and we learn that anxiety serves a purpose. And they couldn't think of a healthy purpose that shame would serve.
And it sucks because it happens in teenagers.
Yeah.
I was like, the only positive I think shame comes out of is just building character and recognizing like, I took shame as a child. This is only because I did a breakdown of adolescence. And I tapped into my own youthfulness of like, I still hold a lot of triggers from when I was 11 that aren't like normal triggers. I have to yell out loud to get my mind to stop thinking about them. And I was like, shame it's never going to be a positive one, but it's more so just one experience that children have to deal with that just helps them build a character, help them build who they are as an adults and recognize like, this is something out of your control. This is something that there's no route to actually fix this. And that's the only positive outcome is like recognizing when enough is enough and you can't fight it.
Yeah.
But I understand why they wouldn't put it in there because it's like those other ones. Again, also, this is a child's movie. Right. So children need to empathize with these situations. They need to be able to be like, I do have this. Yeah. And even if they did have shame, because even as a child, I remember looking at so many movies being like, well, Tina Fey did it this way. So if I do it this way, like Tina Fey did, not recognizing it was a movie. But watching this, I would be like, wait, so you're telling me like at 7 years old, I can't beat shame?
Right.
Like,
and that's
I can't do
thing.
Anything.
But I like that they did that for anxiety because anxiety is something that, when I was a kid, I didn't see representations of anxiety. I think widely as a culture, we misunderstood it and still misunderstand it. But I like this idea that like anxiety, like I remember Kelly coming home and telling me that like anxiety is going to be the thing. And I'm like, I can't think of a reason we would ever need anxiety. And then when I saw the movie, I'm like, that makes sense. That like anxiety is almost like a version of fear that protects you against things that you can't see yet and you just sense might be possible. I thought that was interesting. Now that I'm thinking back on it, it was going to be guilt and shame that they were wrestling over guilt because guilt
doesn't, guilt is just a hole.
It's another one of these murky things, but I think there were some people working on it that are like, well, I was raised Catholic.
That's a lot
myself,
of guilt.
And sometimes you can make an argument like, people should have a sense of guilt when they do something bad, and it is kind of corrective and it's wholesome sometimes, but shame is something that is never wholesome. Shame is just like a lingering weight that like you just keep hitting yourself with. And shame is probably never good. Shame is just mean, but guilt is something that feels like constructive in a way,
I guess. I feel like guilt still is like...
Again, that's my Catholic
that's what I'm saying. Guilt also... Yeah, guilt gets me somewhere. I feel like guilt is just a hole that you also can't get out of. I don't think that's like... It has a positive influence either to be like... I mean, religiously, different kind of outlook. That's built brick by brick. But like someone that's not religious going through guilt is just like... How do I get out of it? And it's like, well, I don't think you can, honey. Like, it's just kind of there for a long time.
Well, and I think that's why the original comic writers for the Sentry character and now this movie are just labeling it The Void. Yeah. Because it's something that it's a place that you go where you can no longer feel anything. Like, you felt everything that you can feel. You're beyond shame even, and you're just to a state of numbness. And I really like that. Like, I thought it was really cool in the final battle how, like, when the first Ox guys were firing at him, he's just like, don't you want to stop fighting? Here, let me help you.
Yeah, I'm here to help.
It's like, that's how we
my
would look
favorite
at it.
part of Void is how much of kind of a sociopath he is, because he genuinely is like, I'm here to help you. And I'm like, but you're putting me in a nightmare, a 24-hour loop of my worst things that have happened to me in my life.
Right.
And just to know that I could break out of it and go to a deeper level. To another round of hell. That's the thing. When Doomsday comes, the Void is going to unleash his powers.
Yeah.
And he is going. I can't even imagine what Ultron's gonna be. Ultron's nightmare? Is he just back in the computer? Is he just back in the computer? And he's fighting with Vision inside?
Well, here's the deal. Ultron scanned the entire internet and everything on the internet to learn about human nature. Okay. And there's a lot of messed up things on the internet that he probably saw.
He's just
Technically, Chris Hansen needs to show up to Ultron and say, we found millions of files in your hard drive, Ultron. You pervert.
I was thinking of, oh my God, but still, I'd be like, I didn't want this. And he's just
You still looked at it, you freak.
He's seeing so many beheadings. He's seeing everything. He's on the dark side of Reddit.
Yeah, the not safe for life, every video, every snuff film.
You know what's funny? When I was driving back from Thunderbolts, I was trying to think what would be the worst version for every not new Rockstars, not ours, for every Marvel character. Because I was like, Nebula's is just getting broken apart piece by piece by her father, right? Yeah, Moon Knight is watching his brother die again, right?
In that cave.
In that cave. And then I'm like, but now I'm trying to be this person. Now I'm trying to declare who's his worst. I don't know. Ultron having to watch the worst things on the internet on the loop would be horrible, because that's like watching 20 of Moon Knight's brothers drowning over and over again. That's watching a million young Nebulas getting ripped apart.
Oh no.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I'm gonna tell my friends. I'm gonna be like, I think Ultron had it the worst if we have to rank
This is kind of a side discussion. What would you prefer between Thunderbolts having the Void trap people in their shame rooms that are like physical rooms created by production designer Grace Yoon, who worked on Hereditary and Beef with Jake Schreier, or the Scarlet Witch doing the same thing essentially to the Avengers?
Because I can fight with the Scarlet Witch one a little bit. I can be like, stop it. But like, because I can physically move. I think did we see? Because I remember when Natasha was going through it, she was able to move at least, right? Or at least it just changed scenes. It went from shooting the person really quick. I don't know. This one sounded like you were trapped in a room fighting yourself. Yelena had to literally get choked out by herself. I'm like, at least I'm not getting choked out by myself. Yeah. So I'd much rather go against the Scarlet Witch. Oh my God.
The Scarlet Witch they were still figuring out what her power set would look like in the MCU. And they made it like a dream-like state. Like Thor was walking through a celebration of his like Asgardian warriors. Cap went back to some dance that he never got with Peggy Carter, and everyone was drunk, and then you realized they were dead. So it was more of like a surrealist dream state. Here it's like a practical room, and I really prefer this. But what I like better about the Age of Ultron version is we saw it for everyone. Yeah, and I wish we saw it for everyone in Thunderbolts. I wish we saw Bucky.
I hate that they asked it and we didn't get to like. Yeah. I can assume.
Well, what was your assumption for Bucky? Where do you think
that's the thing. I just thought it was him begging the people not to say the code again. Because he was like, please, cool. I don't want to do this. And I just assumed it'd be that. But I'm sure there was also a more painful memory where he was in between in the middle of killing someone. I'm sure. I think it was
in 1991, Howard and Maria Stark in the car, and he was about to kill Tony's
parents. You think he remembers it? I know he knows it, but like, you think he feels those emotions when it happened?
I think now, looking back on it, he does. Because they remember in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he had his book of names, and he was going back through everyone. So I think at the top of that list would be like Howard and Maria Stark, because of what it did to the Avengers, what it did to the world, what it forced his friend to do to stand up for him.
And that's the thing, is that's definitely one of the three rooms. I don't know if it's like the second or third being the worst. But it's definitely one of the three rooms.
Because in the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was like at least one thing. There was like one guy. Remember, there was like the old guy.
Yeah, that had the daughter.
Yeah, that had the daughter.
Or the son that he killed. He killed
the guy's son, yeah. So there was that. There were some things that...
That's the thing. Bucky's list is too long to kind of... You got to just choose the three worst ones that he's done. But he feels regret for all of it. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I think it was a funny joke where he goes, my life's been great, so it went fine for me.
But I wanted to see it. Show it to me. Sorry.
We got to see John Walker's, we got to see Elena's, and we got to see Val's.
We can also assume what Ghost is because we saw it. We saw the day her dad blew up, died, and she had to be put in so much pain and torture.
Her dad. I would have loved to have seen like some old S.H.I.E.L.D. mission that she went on, and maybe she killed someone, and then it was like a girl was standing there with the teddy bear. Yeah. and then Ghost is like,
she's like, yep. Poor Taskmaster doesn't even get one because he got shot in the head in the first 5 seconds.
Do you think Alexei's was like that parade where he's standing behind Brezhnev and Brezhnev turned around and goes, "You cannot fill out that suit, you weak man."
100. That's the first room. The last room is unfortunately like probably when he realized his family got ripped away from him. That was probably the last room, but the first room is absolutely his like fame, the fame guilt, the not even guilt. He just wanted to be famous again.
What if we cut to Alexei in like 1995 in Ohio, watching the Chesapeake Valley Thunderbolts? Yelena is goalie, and then just goal after goal gets scored against her, and Yelena at some point just gets hit in the face with a soccer ball, and then gets a nosebleed, and he goes, "This is my greatest shame." And then he's like,
I actually
that girl is pooping in the middle of the field, but also my shame. It's great. Otherwise, it's been a pretty good life for him. He doesn't even mind being in prison.
In the most respectful way, I do think out of all of them, Red Guardians would not be as bad as everybody else.
I think that guy's, he's been through some darkness, but he seems to be the most okay out of everyone.
Yeah, it seems like he was the most molded for it. He was like, "Oh, I've been in the darkness. I've been doing this my entire life."
What if it was like, because he ripped that pillow in half when he got into the attic. What if he was coming out of a moment where he had to just rip something in half?
It was probably a man's chest cavity. He was like, "Oh yeah, the pillow."
So as we're looking ahead to Sentry, we should talk about is the greatest threat he poses on the other Avengers in Doomsday. Is it a psychological threat, the way the Void posed, or is it a physical threat, like ripping people in half?
Yeah.
We have some quotes that I wanted to share. Jake Schreier spoke to SFX magazine, a sister magazine to Cinema Blend, and they asked him about, the Thunderbolts, because we know the Thunderbolts, including Sentry, are joining Avengers Doomsday. And they basically asked him, are you, setting any stones? Are you in the road that you're paving to Doomsday? And he goes, there might be some stones or pebbles. I don't know how you want to rate your rocks. Look, you know the character that we're talking about.
Why would he say that? That's perfect. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But like that is like, was this after the movie?
I think he was just like doing a bit. Jake Schreier
gave it away.
Well, I think he's just saying like there is a big character coming back. He goes, you know the character we're talking about, and you know that there's a level of power involved there that could have an impact going forward. I'm not making Doomsday, so I'm not privy to that.
My boy just told us that Ben Grimm is gonna show up.
That's how you read it.
That's how I read it. When you say pebbles, rocks.
I think he's just saying, I think it was in the context of the way he was asked the question. Like, are you setting any stones?
Oh, I guess that's true.
On the path.
Okay, that's true. That is true.
In a road that you're paving.
I literally was like, was this before or after the movie dropped?
But I did think like, rate your rocks. So I rate Ben Grimm rocks 9.1.
9.1? Damn, that's not even a 10. That's not even a 10.
But the rocks can still taste. He's got a taste
you're
buds
eating
on the rocks.
rocks?
No, his rocks are capable of tasting whether a sauce needs more garlic in it.
That is true. Okay,
those are good rocks. Those are talented rocks.
I hate you.
So Doomsday is definitely gonna have Sentry, and it looks like there's like a level of power. And now I'm questioning, does Jake Schreier just mean like the fact that he can best any Avenger who comes at him? On the red carpet for Thunderbolts, Louis Pullman said of his character Sentry, he's very full of heart and full of a lot of different complexities. He's sort of a physicalization of many of the different shades of our personality that we don't get to see personified. Comicbook.com asked Louis Pullman who he'd want to see his character share a scene with in Doomsday, and he was pretty cagey about it and didn't want to answer because he didn't want Marvel getting mad at him. But ultimately he did say Thor. And he goes, I think it'd be cool to have a little Thor crossover because I've worked with Chris in the past, and that would be a really bizarre meeting of two worlds.
Where did he work with Chris?
Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, Louis Pullman's in the bad. He's the camera boy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He worked together. Drew Goddard directed. Yeah.
Spoilers for the camera boy. Yeah. That's so funny. Why would he choose that? Okay.
Well, I think like he kind of called Thor out a little bit in Thunderbolts, where he's like, he said, I'm stronger than all the Avengers rolled into one, and there's at least one god in the Avengers, so shouldn't I be a god? And he's referring to Thor. I think he idolizes Thor the most, at least with the hair.
It makes sense. If he's called a god, there is the number one god in the MCU, and I don't think he's my number one god. My number one god is Zeus. No, I'm joking. Is Zeus laying there eating?
I like that weird Dionysus god.
Oh yeah, the one that got cut.
Yeah, got cut. Loki is our number one god. Right?
Yeah, Loki is our number one. But you know, to the public, Loki did do a lot of bad things, so they're gonna choose Thor. So it makes sense you choose Thor. I don't know if Lewis Pullman has read the comics where Thor is the one that kills him in the comics, but I mean, hey. It's possible that they'll hang out together.
I think different Avengers are going to fear different things about 100%. Sentry. Like, I think people like Thor are going to be like, maybe we do cast an Ares in Doomsday and we do, or Secret Wars, and he does get ripped in half, and that scares all other gods like Thor, Hercules, Loki.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Hercules that gets ripped in half, dude. They're gonna bring him for Doomsday, and he's gonna get ripped in half, dude. 100%. I don't think they're gonna bring in Ares. I think they're gonna rip Hercules in half.
See, I hope it's Zeus. I hope they get Russell Crowe
that would make sense. That would make sense
because like his character was too goofy. I think we kind of like seeing him get ripped in half. And seeing
Zeus get ripped in half, even though he's like lazy and gluttonous, it's still like Zeus is being ripped in half.
Also, ripped in half is a hard thing to do, and we saw Homelander do it in the recent season of The Boys, right? Didn't he rip someone in half?
Yeah, and he's very strong.
And you go from like the shoulder.
Yeah, he has to go for the soft spot to like. They did like a weird math for the show to figure out what's the easiest part to tear.
It wouldn't work.
But you have to. He can dig his fingers into the throat part, and then he separated the shoulder. It's gross. And don't watch that scene because it's filthy. It's disgusting, and I hated it.
I just feel like the body doesn't have perforated edges like that. It's gonna zigzag in some weird, messy way.
Your skin will. Your skin absolutely should. If I learned anything from Sinners, your skin should absolutely be like teared like paper. Like it should have ragged edges.
Yeah. Or it's gonna be like a bag of Trader Joe's cheese.
You're having a hard time,
it's just
kind
of melted a little bit, and I'm like,
you're just having a hard time.
You're just having a hard time. I just want my night cheese.
And not to sidetrack or pull this away or go off the rails as we usually do. I just think boys can't open those bags. Like the cheese bags.
They're designed for women, is what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know what's wrong with your guys' dainty little fingers that you guys can't open a bag of cheese. I've had so many men hand me these bags of cheese to be like, I can't open it. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't open it?
I do have to wake up Kelly in the middle of the night and be like, Kelly, night cheese.
I need my night cheese,
Kelly. She goes,
Be a normal person and open the shredded bag and dig your hands in it and just take a little bit and then go back to sleep. You don't need a slice of cheese. You just need a little shredded.
I don't think our fingers are dainty. I think we're missing some muscles or some tendons in our fingers that allow us to, or maybe it's just like we're stubborn and impatient.
You get just so frustrated. Because I'm literally, I don't have nails. I bite my nails. So I literally am like, how can I open this and you cannot?
Yeah, it's not the nails. I thought for a while it was the nails. I think what it is men are just used to things coming easy to us.
So
for the first time in my life, something didn't happen the way I wanted it to.
So all these men have been tricking me for years, and I've been falling for it. The ploy. Teach a man to fish my ass. I was just doing it. That's crazy. That's crazy work. And now I'm gonna be like this every time a man asks for help opening a bag.
Okay, so we have like Thor versus Sentry that I feel like the fear is the ripping in half. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, not to sidetrack. This could also be why Thor's crying.
Okay, so Thor's crying because he got ripped in half.
Yeah, we didn't see the bottom part, or if he does rip Loki in half.
Oh no, I couldn't handle seeing.
We've seen Loki die so many times. Honestly, we could see it again.
His neck got snapped, which
and that was
pretty brutal, pretty ugly. I don't think it'll be Loki.
But sorry, I didn't mean to keep
going. I don't know. So there's a physical threat. There's people who can fly. Obviously, you got Sentry to fear, and then psychological threats. Other than the characters we saw in Thunderbolts, who is the most broken? Scarlet Witch? Can we Wanda? Probably has a lot of shame, a lot of guilt.
I was gonna say Moon Knight.
Moon Knight would be a fun.
And I think Moon Knight would be a good actual person to fight Sentry because he has Khonshu. And I don't think Khonshu dies by just the void. Because we're mixing like, because he's technically not there, right? He's like a spirit.
He is
so it's like,
a deity.
But he can still,
he's a moon deity.
But can he touch people?
Yes.
Okay.
He touched me.
Shut the hell up.
In my heart.
Shut the hell up. So we have. I just remember him going through that town and just knocking things over. I don't remember him hitting any actual person there. But I was like, I think that's the person, someone you can't touch, is going to be a real hard battle, and someone that already has to deal with their own turmoil. Because I'm like, well, if you send him to the void, he's basically just going to be talking to himself and being like, okay, all three of us need to get out of here again.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would love to see Khonshu fighting the void.
Yeah.
The moonlight versus the darkness, the shadow.
Oh yeah,
like,
could
what
he
a cool looking fight.
Could light? I know this is like a stupid like cartoony thing, but I'm like, could light just like a beam of very powerful Khonshu light just wipe out the void, or like at least knock him out a little bit, put him back inside Bob for a minute?
Well, you know what's interesting that Jake Schreier said about the void and the way that he voids people. He flattens them in shadows. When, you know, Perry from Collider was asking him about the design, and he said it was like based on the Hiroshima blast shadows.
Oh, yeah.
He went further and he said that like the way they wanted it to look is they animated it to be exactly 1.5 frames because it needed to be fast, but not so fast that we couldn't see it, and needed to be almost within a blink. And he said that they never showed it in, or they avoided showing it in profile. They wanted it to be either at us or away from us to look like an eclipse. And I think in that he was hinting at the fact that like, obviously you can say that all darkness is just the absence of light, or all light is the absence of darkness, however you want to look at it. Shadow though is something separate. Shadow means that there is something in the way of the light, that something is blocking the light, and that the light is not touching it because something else is in the way. And so that's what the void is. The void is just not the presence of darkness or the absence of light. The void is that something is obstructing the light, if you want to really get conceptual about this.
He could probably still take on Khonshu.
Yeah.
I think that line about the god set him up to fight a god. He's going to be fighting a god. Probably Thor.
Imagine like Khonshu, who has control over the lunar cycle, right?
We don't get into it.
Khonshu forms an eclipse, and imagine there's like an eclipse that like the void is like, what is an eclipse but Earth being in a mood?
Oh no! And he just
and then he can use the shadow from the eclipse.
Yeah, what if it just helps him? What if it just helps him? That is the most dangerous foul thing, because Khonshu would do that. Khonshu would be like, I'd work with this guy. I don't mind. What the hell? That would be horrible. But also, this is also a snowballing incident where this would do something that forces like Mephisto to do something. Like it just ends up snowballing to like, okay, here's all the beasts from the shadows in the hell realm coming out now. Like I feel like we're getting into territory that is, it's crazy. Sentry can literally fit into any one place. He can go against a god. He can go against the metaphysical ones. He can do anything.
If Thor: Love and Thunder was a more sophisticated movie, they could have gone into this. The fact that they went into the shadow realm and that kids got sucked into shadow, that could have been what the void looked like, you know? And there's a way that these two could be linked. I wouldn't mind seeing him rip Gore the God Butcher in half. If Gore the God Butcher were to be resurrected or come back in Battle World, that'd be fun.
I think you're right with like a Zeus. Loki, the only reason why I would see them ripping Loki apart is just because it's like, yeah, Loki has died a lot, and I want to see how you guys are going to bring Tom Hiddleston back, but also rip him away from the Yggdrasil tree. Unless it is a different Loki, like it is a different Tony Stark or a different Robert Downey Jr. So I'm like, yeah, he's got it. That scene in the comics of him ripping Ares apart, I feel like has to be done again.
Yeah.
And that shows immediately how dangerous that man is.
One other pitch. Balder the Brave, played by Daniel Craig.
Bring him in just to rip him in half. Bring him in just to rip him in half.
I think it would be the Multiverse of Madness move, right? Bring in this actor who we've all speculated will be there, and then kill him in the most grisly way.
100. I would eat it up. I would eat it up because you know that man's busy anyway, so it's okay. Like this is just for fun for us. Oh, that'd be horrible. I would love it.
Russell Crowe, Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
But he's got to rip someone in half.
He's got to rip someone in half. And the thing is, you don't have to kill a million people and put them in shadows like this way. You just have to rip one major person in half. Yeah. And then immediately he turns back into Bob and he goes, whoa, where'd that blood come from?
It has to be someone who will take Yelena away from him, because I think Yelena is kind of his grounding force. That's the way the movie ends, is that he needs Yelena in his life.
Yeah, you think she's going to be the charge that makes him always release the void, is to protect?
Or like if they take out all the Thunderbolts or any one of the Thunderbolts, I think he's pretty attached to all of them.
I also think someone, if there is a Wanda that can do the thing that she did in Age of Ultron, she will do it to the void. Yeah. Like she'll do it to Bob or something, and that will release the void. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Marvel that I know that can do that. Just make you see what, oh God forbid Mysterio shows up. But like put you in a dire situation where it's like fight or flight. He's going to turn into the void.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. Like you can't upset him too much.
You know who I'd love to see a Sentry psychologically go after? Charles Xavier and Magneto.
Oh, dude.
They're going to be in the movie, right?
Set him up.
Like Magneto, you get to go back to any number of shameful moments in his life. Professor X, a lot of interesting shameful moments to go back to, you know?
Ooh, oh my God, poor Magneto. We can't do that again. Why would you do that to him? Nobody get that scene again, but through like just the MCU's eyes version now. I'm like, current Disney MCU's eyes.
I think they need to go there.
You think we're going to see it again?
Thunderbolts, as much as I love the movie, my biggest gripe is that we didn't go there for all the characters. And I want to see more people's shame.
I don't want to see Magneto.
Find their shame.
Find their shame.
We used to do a segment on New Rockstars called Find My Shame, where I would say like, okay, there's something that exists online and give viewers like an Easter egg hunt and go see if you can find it.
Is it your headshot?
I have several shapes. I have headshots. I have very bad reviews of SNL that like I thought I was being clever.
Please
or good.
send them. I would love to see
very stupid. There's like videos of me doing improv in 2008 you can find on the internet,
fair.
and it's me thinking I'm really funny playing party quirks in Florida. Yeah, so these are my shame. You can and then so Zach and I would test each other to see if like can people find my shame.
Honestly, give it to them before. It's like before you out me. I'm like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna own it. When you guys find it, I already know about it. Yeah. I'm already aware of it. And that's why Sentry would dig into a deeper part for you.
Yeah. For me, Sentry would be like, oh, your first job was wearing a red blazer on the CBS lot. You're like, no. And you told that woman there was no more room on The Price is Right that day. And you made her go to the Grove and walk around the Grove.
You're ripping off the shirt. Like,
please, I'm sorry.
And that's the difference between me and the Thunderbolts. I would have been like, please just get me out of here. I can't do this anymore. And it's just me in a room full of silk because I hate the feeling of silk. It's just, I can't stand the texture.
It's just too soft.
No, it's not. It is soft. I don't like that. It feels like it attaches to my body.
It feels wet. Doesn't silk feel wet?
I don't know. And it sucks because as a black person, y'all know that if you're black or if you just have nappier hair, silk is better for our hairs. So like you literally, I have a silk bonnet, I have a silk pillowcase. I can't physically like touch those things. I like sit still if I'm in silks. Homecoming and prom was the worst for me. I could not. Just give me a weird gown. I can't. That's my hell.
I tried sleeping on silk sheets and it just felt wet. Like it doesn't retain, or it doesn't absorb body heat and body moisture well enough. So you end up feeling like just kind of.
I can't.
Don't like it. Velvet is something that like.
I love velvet.
It's like nails on a chalkboard for me. Like I hate the feeling of it.
But it makes you sweat.
Yeah, and it's like maybe it's growing up in Florida and having to wear some velvet.
You just naturally are like,
or just like velvet ropes and just being like, oh,
damn, you can only do cotton.
Everything in Florida is wet because of the humidity. So like wet velvet is like the worst texture in the world.
I will say, yeah, wearing a velvet dress, I was like, oh, I'm sweating in this, and it just feels like bare fur attached to me.
I think as I get older, there's like a. What's the word? There's a directly proportional relationship between my comfort level and whether I can sweat in it. Yeah, and if 100. I can't sweat in it without it just breaking down, I hate it. No, 100. But if I can like sweat in this without it being visible, like that's why I'm wearing black shirts all the time.
Well, where do you sweat?
Everywhere.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean, like in locations or on my body?
In locations, because I'm like
everywhere and everywhere. Everywhere and everywhere.
Because I was like, constantly. I get people that like sweat on their legs. They're like, that's why I'm wearing shorts all the time. I'm the natural sweater where it's like just armpits, and if there's a roll on my body, there's usually there too. But I'm like, yeah, it doesn't. I don't get too bothered by it, but when it's bed, that's when I'm like, if I'm in a covers or like sleeping in it, I'm ripping that shit off me. I feel like a werewolf. I'm like, I can't. And those things I think trigger me to be like, I can't stand the feeling of silk.
I like shorts. They're comfy and easy to wear.
I don't think I've ever seen you in a pair of shorts.
And the problem is the first day you wear shorts on that first warm day of spring, you realize, man, when I use a urinal, there's going to be piss all over my legs today.
What?
Guys know.
No,
guys know.
Ew. Are you peeing on yourself?
It just ricochets.
No,
ew. I'm sorry to drag it there.
No.
It's a reality. Urinals are disgusting.
No,
urinals are wrong. They are bad and gross. They're convenient.
What are you supposed to pee in? On the floor? Oh, the toilet. That makes sense.
Your pants.
Yo, your pants? Yeah. Don't you wear a diaper? Why'd you be a normal person?
Yeah. So guys know what I mean. And that scares you from wearing shorts.
Let me know in the comments.
Fellas, get at a distance.
You pee on your legs.
I think that's why we all pissing contest to stand across the bathroom so that we're not close to the urinal.
Y'all are so crazy. Just go to a potty. Go to a toilet.
Men are disgusting and we're clumsy with our fingers.
Yeah, clearly. I've learned a lot this podcast about you guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do that to you. All right, so coming up this week on New Rockstars, we got our review or a breakdown of The Last of Us episode 4 coming tomorrow. And or breakdown of episodes 7, 8, and 9 coming on Wednesday. We're going to be talking more about Thunderbolts, any other news we get about Doomsday or Superman. It's May. It's gonna be now. And what's coming up?
Wait, is it May 4th this Sunday?
Yeah, May the 4th.
Or today.
Right
today!
now.
It's today!
Happy May the 4th. God bless you all.
Oh, I didn't dress up. Well, I did wear Beyonce, who some would say is a Star War.
Yeah.
Is a Star
She
War.
is. She is Star Wars. I love her. That's what's coming up on the channel. And then we'll be on the break room as well. We'll be talking about The Last of Us and any other big news tomorrow on the break room at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And then we'll also be on, because now we are streaming twice a week on the break room. If you watch break room content as video uploads after the fact, that's going to be 3 times a week. But we did a whole video explaining our next steps on the break room. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up. All right, let's end with what we're watching.
Mine's quick. I randomly fell asleep watching TV and it started playing Frasier, the old Frasier. And I love the old Frasier. I was and it plays at the end of every episode. It is that little chuckle. It's so funny also because I'm like, when this came out, there's a different view of Kelsey Grammer than what we have. And then also it's funny to look at him and be like, this is Beast. This is Beast. This is crazy ass Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer has lived a crazy life. And so it's just so interesting to watch him again. But I've always been a huge Frasier fan. So I used to watch it every day, like in college, and I had to pull myself away from it. And now I'm back in it. And I'm going through it again, and I love it.
Other than Sideshow Bob, and of course, as Frasier Crane, Kelsey Grammer's best
Kelsey Grammer is Sideshow Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How did I not know that?
Oh, yeah.
That is his voice. That is him.
Perhaps his best role. Beast is great, but I would say my favorite Kelsey Grammer, is on 30 Rock, when they have the grifting cake scheme where they rip off Carvel cakes. I can't remember it. And he's like, that's me, Frasier. And they deliberately have cakes misspelled so that they can return it because Jenna gets a free cakes for a lifetime. Oh. And so they just basically profit like $60 and they're like, nice score. It's one of the best.
I need to go watch it. I don't remember him in 30 Rock.
It's so good. It's so
there's episodes I'm missing in 30 Rock.
Yeah. I've been watching The Rehearsal on Max.
Oh my,
Season 2.
Last episode of Sneak Peek, Brandon watched The Rehearsal.
Okay, so
and
you guys know.
Well, we didn't spoil anything because I don't watch The Rehearsal because Nathan Fielder stresses me out. But that airplane, I did watch the airplane. The guy, I don't know if it's a spoiler. That relationship is done.
Oh, yes. So the new season of the Rehearsal is just basically Nathan Fielder's mind and wherever his curiosities lead him. But they start out as something that's kind of like an expanded version of Nathan For You, where he tries to identify a problem and use his own kind of social experiment and reenacting abilities and his Charlie Kaufman-esque Synecdoche, New York production design abilities to try to help people through their issues. And his big problem that he's trying to solve in season 2, he says at the outset, is like airline safety and the fact that first officers can't speak up in the cockpit to the captains. And it's such a specific, crazy thing that he does. And I highly encourage you to watch it.
It's so insane.
Because it gets away from that pretty fast.
Yes, and it's insane. Because I was actually interested in the first part, and then I got too interested and invested in the second part. And I went, this is crazy.
It's an insane, wonderful show. Episode 2, just if you do love Nathan For You, it addresses something that's happened with Nathan For You.
Which is?
Well, you mentioned 30 Rock, and you can't watch all the 30 Rock episodes because like Peacock or NBC removed some of them because some of the jokes just didn't age that well. I think what it was is they were pretty edgy jokes at the time, and they're like, we just don't want that.
They don't want John Hamm and blackface showing up. That's NBC.
That's what it is. Nathan For You had an episode where he has like a kind of a North Face brand called Summit Ice that he wanted to say a portion of every profit from Summit Ice outerwear goes to like survivors of the Holocaust and goes to help these charities. And the way he did it is he had it in a sporting goods store with a bunch of swastikas. And he goes, we don't like this. But it's like, we have to put a swastika up in our store. It's a super funny episode. But like Paramount Plus is like, with the Israel Hamas stuff, we don't want that on our platform. And he noticed it was removed. It goes straight from episode 1 to episode 3 in season 3. So he does a whole thing about it in the second episode of the rehearsal. And I don't want to say it, but it's one of the funniest, completely tangential things related to airline safety, but it's just super funny.
That's insane. And you said was it on Universal that they took it off?
It was on Paramount Plus, the streaming app.
Is the rehearsal on Paramount Plus?
So no, the rehearsal's on Max, but he does address that because he goes, well, I have the curse. Remember he made the curse with Emma Stone? And he's like, that is also a Paramount Plus release and is currently awaiting a second season. And he goes,
it's gone now.
Like that show's never going to get a second season. It's too insane. The way it ends,
but
there's
people
no
were
way
watching
it can get a
it.
second
People
season.
loved it.
It's a bizarre show. And it's a hard watch, I will admit that. But the rehearsal just feels like classic Nathan Fielder, anti-comedy. This guy has something loose about his brain, and it's just super funny.
Look, if there's anything that the sneak peek has reminded you now, is that you need to be watching the rehearsal. The rehearsal is a good show.
It's a great show.
That pilot episode is so ridiculous. that he stresses me out just too often because he'll do things like the swastikas in the store, and I'll be like, oh, I'm too stressed for the people that aren't in on the bit.
It gets a little kind of like cringy, like Andy Kaufman approach sometimes, or Tim and Erik style.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like for me, luckily Tim and Erik was mainly just the two, and they had like 2 extra people always in. Eric Andre does this a lot. I don't like when the people aren't on the bit, and I am like, ooh, I don't know how I would even handle this.
I think Eric Andre pushes it too far for me.
God,
I think he's one of the most brilliant, funniest comedians ever, but he goes too far.
He goes too far
when he does the man on the street stuff, and it's just like I can't. I feel so bad for that person.
Yeah, I literally am like,
but we need people like him.
Yeah,
I think we need comedians who can do that. But yeah, super fun. All right. Well, we want to give our special thanks to one of our YouTube members, Marisa Miranda, who supports us at the executive producer level. Thank you so much, Marisa. And if you all want to check out nerdright.shop, there's some just really cool Thunderbolts designs. We got other designs in the works that you're really going to like. I'm wearing our Josie's shirt if you want to support to that bar. But yeah, Jess, this has been a lot of fun talking Sentry with you.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad we got to talk a lot about Sentry. I know that we went off the rails a little bit a couple times because boys are ridiculous. Something I learned early off in my life, but confirmed today. Oh God, he can't even put his phone on silent.
Unlock it.
Kelly, fix phone.
It's
Kelly.
broken.
Kelly, fix phone. Logan's literally just turning it off.
Day cheese, mama.
Day cheese? You don't get day cheese. You only get night cheese.
I want day cheese.
Your nightcap is just a little slice of cheese. But no, it was fun. I love Sentry. I'm so excited for Lewis Pullman. Good job, little baby.
Lewis. Your daddy Bill is proud.
Oh, he's very proud. We saw him in the theater.
We did see him. He was so proud, Papa. All right, everyone, take care of yourselves out there. Subscribe to all 4 channels in the New Rockstars Network. Yes, we have a 4th channel called New Rockstars Highlights or Highlights NR on YouTube. And it's just like you can see clips of this show, Rumor Rundown, and just other great highlights over on New Rockstars Highlights. Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Bye.